Welcome everyone, and thanks so much for taking time out of your day to explore some new innovative product features with us. I wanted to kick things off with a brief introduction to Product Club because as people were joining, I'm seeing a lot of new names that I haven't seen before pop up in the chat. So that's actually really exciting. And guys, the pressure is on today. I want all of the attendees, our frequent flyers included, to have a great experience and come back every month. So Aziz, Max, Vineet, we have to make this perfect. No pressure. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so what is Product Club? Our Product Club is a monthly virtual meetup led by our product leaders here at Automation Anywhere. My image box floats around to ask questions, but the real stars of the show are the product team, which today we have Vineet, Aziz, and Max joining us. We host these sessions to keep our community members informed about the latest proprietary product innovations and to offer you a channel to reach out to the product team with questions. It's a place to learn, connect, to see product demos in real life, and learn about product use cases and how we weave those products into our automation programs and hopefully inspire you to do so as well. During today's session, we will meet our product team, dive into Automation Cloud Service, and then open things up for Q&A. Along the way, we'll be asking poll questions, so your engagement really helps us navigate what we talk about today and potentially how we develop product roadmaps in the future. So once those pop up on your screen, please answer those because that's really the bread and butter of these webinars. Before we get started, I do want to dive into some Pathfinder news really quickly. We have our highly anticipated Agentic Process Automation or APA training camp kicking off April 7th. This 4-week virtual training camp will offer hands-on experience to make the leap from RPA to APA. And with this one, there are 2 tracks, one for developers and one for automation leads, or you can do both, whichever fits best with your role. I'm going to drop the link to register in the chat. So this is one of those links to hold on to. Hang on to that after this webinar. Hop over and register if you haven't already. It's going to be a really, really great time. Also, an exciting update, the Pathfinder newsletter is live and you can check that out for insight into the most recent happenings in the Pathfinder universe. It has everything from Don't Miss University courses to our Community Sparks of the Quarter, which a Community Spark is our collection of use cases. So pretty helpful for some program strategies and different developers pitching to stakeholders, things like that. We highlight some community members of the month and share our 2025 swag design, which is pretty stellar. That is a pun, and it'll make sense when you click on the newsletter link and check it out. So I'm going to share that in the chat as well. Next, the A360.35 Delta training has launched and includes courses to support navigating the newest features in our most recent update. I believe the Delta training only takes 2-ish hours. Max, do you know?
Yeah, the dad's training is around 2 hours. We like to keep this short and sweet, and we want to make sure that it's just straight to the material that you want. No fluff or anything like that, just hands-on learning.
Awesome. I'm going to throw that in the chat as well. So add this to your virtual note-taking sheet. Sorry that I made like the longest link ever. Apologies there. And finally, for the developers on the call on March 27th, my colleague Shreya will be hosting an exciting developers meetup on building AI agents for enterprise processes. So if that's you and you're interested to learn more, you can register for that here. Quick reminder that Product Club sessions are recorded and we share a recap both in the community and via email. Now, quick question for everyone on the call to sort of get us started here. How familiar are you with Automation Cloud Service, API task? I already use them in my automations. I have heard of them, but do not use them. What in the world is Automation Cloud Services? So 68% have heard of them but do not use them. 8% already use them, and 24%, what in the world is Automation Cloud Services? You are in the right place today, my friends, because we are going to learn all about it and the best way to weave these into our automation programs. Now, let's go ahead and meet our product leaders. Aziz, I'm going to start with you. Where are you logging in from today?
Sure. So I'm logging in from San Jose, California. I'm Aziz Khan, Senior Director of Product. I've been with the company for 7 years. I've learned a lot along the way and understand our products intimately. And I lead our efforts around automation cloud service and our integration strategy.
Awesome, thank you. So the time change, being in California and joining this at 8:30 Mountain Time is really messed with you today.
That's for sure. But it's fun.
Yeah, perfect. What excites you most about your role here at Automation Anywhere?
That's an interesting question. I think the most important thing about what I like about my role is that I get to work with the newer innovations in our products portfolio and work on cutting edge technology. And the second most important thing to me is the fact that I get to work with folks like you and Max and Vineeth, who are really, really passionate and excited about what they do.
Yeah, thank you. I will say when I joined the team, I knew very little about what you all work on, and your passion to share and to teach everyone else is just, I mean, it really is awe-inspiring. So thank you. And I am excited to be here. All right, moving on to you, Vineet. Where are you logging in from today?
I am logging in from Bangalore, India today. It's almost sleep time, but I'm super excited to talk.
All right. And Vineet, what's your current role here at Automation Anywhere?
Sure. I'm a PM on Aziz's team. I basically work on our API as a service strategy, running automations in the cloud, building integrations between Automation Anywhere and any other service that you can think of. Basically, getting stuff done faster at lightning speed with less worry for customers about their on-premise infrastructure.
Awesome. And then just a little lightweight question here for you. What's the best career advice you've received to date?
I'd have to think about that. I've received many career advices. One thing is one of the best advices that comes to my mind right now is always remember that what we are doing today will not matter in about 5 years from now. So do it with your heart, do it with people in mind, and do it with collaboration.
That's a good one. Yeah, thank you. And Max, where are you logging in from today?
Hey, yes. So today I'm actually logging in from Canada, in Calgary. So a little bit colder outside than the English weather, but we don't have rain. So that is a bonus.
I bet that's a breath of fresh air for sure.
Oh, just a bit, just a bit.
And what's your role here at Automation Anywhere?
So I'm a senior program manager here, focusing on the Pathfinder content and directly rooted in with the community. What I do is I look at all of the latest releases, look at everything that's new and upcoming with Automation Anywhere, and then work out how we can make really engaging content that's going to get you hands-on and learning that straight from the start. We also look at creating all of the actual training camp content, like the Agentic Process Automation training camp that is upcoming very soon, to make sure that, well, you are getting the latest and greatest from us and you are completely in the know every single step of the way.
Awesome. And I'm really glad that I have you here today because I'd love to ask you a question that I get a lot in the community, which is what is your process for keeping up with all the new feature releases with Automation Anywhere? We have updates and releases all the time and things change. So what's your strategy to keep up with everything?
Well, it spans across two different areas. My initial go-to is always go into the Delta training. With the Automation Anywhere Delta training, we make sure that we have the videos and the learning content available for when the release is available to you guys. So as soon as it's available for you, we have videos ready for you to jump in. And again, that is just set up on the Delta training course. Besides that, I also look at the community. Now, unless you're actively looking for a feature or looking for a way in order to be able to solve a challenge, sometimes it's hard to be able to find that information. And it's hard to not know what you don't know until you know that it exists. So by getting into the community and getting into the forum and getting involved, you find that questions people are asking about ways they're solving a certain problem tends to spark that idea and gives you that light bulb moment around ways that you can actually fit that solution into pieces of work that you are currently doing now. And it's a case of, well, realizing the possible.
Awesome. Thanks so much to all of you. To the attendees, as a reminder, if you have questions, please drop them into the Q&A box. Max here is going to support in answering those in real time, and then we'll dive deeper into those once we get to the Q&A portion of this webinar. With that, I am going to stop sharing and kick it over to the great part of this webinar. Over to you, Vineet and Aziz.
Thank you,
Great.
Lou.
Thank you. I think Vinny, you have the slides.
Yeah.
Great. So this is really excited to be here, and I think it's also good timing because it sounds like there's a lot of you who have heard about Automation Cloud Service API Task, but I also saw that a lot of you are not using it, and then some of you who haven't heard of it. So this is a great time in terms of because there's so many new features to be released every year, right? It's hard to keep track. So this is a good opportunity for us to kind of get with you and kind of cover what Automation Cloud Service is all about and all the good stuff that Vineet and I have been working on over the last 9 months, and some of the future stuff that we're going to be bringing. So next slide. So we'll talk a little bit about rebranding, right? So we launched Automation Cloud Service initially last year, and we call it API Task, right? Primarily because it's really automation that are designed with APIs primarily, right? What we realized was that there were a lot of questions around from customers about the terminology used because you could use API in the context of bot automations as well. So we decided to rebrand it as Automation Cloud Service because fundamentally what we have done with this feature is that we have allowed you now the ability to run your automation completely in the cloud, right? So this is serverless, completely in the cloud, no infrastructure required. And then we'll also talk about some of the newer features and enhancements that I said we've been working on over the last 9 months or so. Some of them you might already be familiar with. Some of them could be new to you, and this is an opportunity for you to get acquainted with them. And then Vineet will give us a really exciting demo at the end that kind of brings all of this together so you can see how you can take this technology and put it to use in your organization. So let's talk about what Automation Cloud Service is really about. Safe Harbor, you guys have seen that slide before, so I'll skip that. But essentially, in the architecture, in our agentic process automation architecture, what we're going to talk about is that bottom layer, which is your automation system. And API Task is one of those ways in which you drive the automation system, and we're calling it Automation Cloud Service. So let's take a look at what this really is. So fundamentally, as I said before, what we've done is we've taken the ability to sort of run automations completely in the cloud for you, right? This way, you don't have to worry about any kind of infrastructure on-prem. So basically, zero infrastructure. And it is a pure innovation from that perspective. There's no VMs, no desktops, no maintenance that you have to do on your own. All of this is now handled by automation anywhere in the cloud. You can take advantage of all the integrations that we build with all the major applications, enterprise applications that you interact with. Any SaaS application are compatible with this. And essentially, you can run your automation footprint pretty much all in the cloud if that's what you are essentially dealing with. The other derivative benefit of this is that with running automations in the cloud, now you have the ability to sort of take advantage of the elasticity of the cloud, right? You can scale very easily. So as your demand peaks, as they grow, as you bring in more and more automations, more and more users to your automations, you don't have to necessarily provision new machines, new hardware, new virtual machines to run these automations. They automatically, dynamically scale in the cloud, giving you that flexibility. Another thing to really point out is that when you run these automations in the cloud, we have the ability to sort of pre-warm some of these automations, right? So that what happens is that for automations that require real time or no latency, for example, you would get that kind of an experience. So for conversational interfaces, for more interaction automations that interact with humans, right, in the context of unattended automations, where time sensitivity really matters because you don't want to be sitting in front of an automation for a long time. You want answers very, very quickly, especially as you deal with more generative AI types of use cases, right? This real-time interaction with automation becomes very, very important, and Automation Cloud Service will deliver that for you. So, Vineet, can you tell us a little bit about architecturally how this is different from our traditional implementation?
Yeah, absolutely. So traditionally, we have a control room that orchestrates all of the bots, deploys the bots, and then gets back the statuses, and then you can monitor various automations. That's the control room. And then you have the bot runner machines, which are typically hosted in the customer environment. Now, these machines are where the actual bots will run, right? These machines need to have the bot agent software and some more dependencies for the bots to run, right? Now, Aziz highlighted how Automation Cloud Service is different from these bot runner machines. With Automation Cloud Service, you get a runtime environment for your automation in the cloud, which is zero on-premise hardware requirements. So if you look at this architecture diagram here, at the bottom left corner, we are depicting the Automation Cloud Service. It says runner in cloud. Now, this cloud service is actually hosted in the same region as your control room is located today. So if your control room is, for example, located in the US East region, the Automation Cloud Service that will be provisioned for you will also be hosted in the same US East region. And that is the way we sort of guarantee some of the low latency features that Aziz spoke about. Now, what happens is whenever you send a command to an Automation Cloud Service, whenever you want an Automation Cloud Service to deploy and execute your automation, the control room sends that command to the Automation Cloud Service infrastructure, which is hosted and managed by us, Automation Anywhere. Automation Anywhere takes the full responsibility of taking the automation, deploying it on the cloud, running it there, executing, and then sending back the information to the control room, right? So this is how Automation Cloud Service is different from your typical bot runner infrastructure.
That's great. So let's go to the next slide. So what does this really mean for you, right? So, you're obviously offloading infrastructure responsibility, right? So you don't have to manage that infrastructure, the way that you use today for your bot runners, if you will, right? And the fact that it's in the cloud, right? So that gives you a number of other benefits, dynamic scaling, for example, right? So you don't have to necessarily provision new machines as your demands grow. Eliminates failures caused by infrastructure, right? Because it's in the cloud, you don't have to worry about any of that because that's taken care of by Automation Anywhere. And then I talked about the fact that you can get really super fast automations, low latency automations, and these occur in the context of milliseconds, right? So for those use cases where you want users to get results from the automation very quickly, this is the way to go. The other derivative, that you get out of this is that cost reduction, right? So this is an example of a customer who had essentially reduced 12 VMs that they use for automations and saved a significant amount of dollars annually, right? So if you look at the breakdowns, and I had a discussion with their IT to kind of understand like what is it that goes into the infrastructure cost, right? And it turns out that, from a monthly perspective, they were spending close to $400 a month for each VM, right? And you multiply that for the number of VMs they have over a year, that's significant savings, right? So as you think about, looking at automations that can potentially take advantage of Automation Cloud Service, there is the opportunity for you to also reduce your infrastructure cost. So Vinny, now let's kind of talk about like what are the types of automations that are really suitable for Automation Cloud Service, and what are some of those use cases?
Yeah, sure. Now, automation cloud service can be invoked in multiple ways. One such way is invoking automation cloud service from user interfaces, right? You may have a custom user interface in your organization, and users will interact with that UI, and maybe they want some automation to happen in the background, right? And they want to see the result of that automation in real time, in the same UI, without having to close and reopen that UI, right? That's not possible today at all, right? So with automation cloud service, you can have an automation execute in the background, do all of the grunt work, maybe looking up a spreadsheet or checking some data in a system of record or creating a ticket in a ticketing application. And then you can surface the result of that automation back on the same UI. So that's the number one use case that you can do with automation cloud service, which is you can call automation cloud service from user interface, right? Some examples are also in the form of automation copilot processes, right? So you can invoke API tasks or automation cloud service rather from copilot widgets. You can call them on forms as well as you can invoke them from the process as an async job, right? What you also see here on the slide is our latest conversational interface, which is powered by Amazon Q. You can invoke automation cloud service through natural language prompts. Imagine you don't even know, you are expert in business processes, you know the workflows, but you not necessarily know what are the various automations that are used to execute those processes. So now you can type your prompts in English, and the Copilot will surface all of the automations that are relevant to your use case. And then you can trigger those automations right there, see the outcomes right there. As you can see here, the user types a prompt in here, and then the Copilot queue automatically determines which automation cloud service to deploy in order to satisfy the user's goal. There you go. So the question was about loan terms, and the automation executed a relevant automation cloud service, which is generating the loan terms, and it is also routing back the application to a loan officer. So you can get so much done without even having to understand or any learning curve to understand what automations are assigned to you. So going forward, you can also schedule automation cloud service automation, right? That means if you know your cloud service needs to execute every day at 5 a.m., you can schedule it by the clock, and the cloud service will automatically deploy at that time and then do its thing and then perform what it's designed to do. So this is a way of using automation cloud service in an unattended mode, right?
How about if your automations are triggered by external events, Vineet?
Yeah, great question, Aziz. So for that, we have the next slide here that talks about web triggers, right? Which means we use webhooks offered by various external systems to listen to events that you're interested in. Right? For example, an email coming into your Outlook or your Gmail box, or a new ticket getting created in ServiceNow, or a new incident logged in ServiceNow, or Jira, or whatever application, right? So we can now listen to these events on the cloud without having any dependency on your bot runners, which are hosted inside of your premises. So we can detect these events, we can listen to those events, and we can take an action. We can trigger an automation cloud service based on certain conditions, and then we can execute actions and meet your SLAs. And in the demo later, we will show you how you can configure, web triggers inside of Automation Cloud Service for achieving, business goals.
And how about being able to sort of call these automation cloud services or service automations programmatically, like through an API? Can we do that?
Absolutely. Every automation cloud service or API task that you create in the control room can actually be invoked as an endpoint. And remember, we said there's two ways to invoke API tasks, right? One is the asynchronous mode, which is call the automation cloud service and then fire and forget mode. That is the async mode. So the cloud service runs for specified time and then it gives you the response. The second mode is the real-time endpoint, which is the synchronous mode. So it actually waits for the automation cloud service to complete execution and then gives you the results back in real time. Both of these modes are available as endpoints, which means you can call these services from any external application programmatically, or you can also invoke them from Postman, which means you can invoke them from any other interface as well.
That's excellent. So that opens up a lot of different types of use cases.
Absolutely. I mean, think of use cases where you have a custom form and you want to plug in an automation to that form, get some automation done, and also show the result back to the user in real time. API task real-time endpoint is the way to do that. Um, you are familiar of how to create bots. If you know that, you can create an API task in a jiffy, and then you just have to consume these endpoints and expose it or hook it up behind your custom forms and web pages.
Great.
So here we summarize various ways of invoking automation cloud service. The first way is you can invoke them in the Copilot forms, which is a part of the Automation Anywhere platform. You can also invoke them in the process. If you've ever built a process using the process composer, you know that you can drag and drop elements to construct your workflow. So you can drag an API task element and execute it in the asynchronous manner. Thirdly, you can run automation cloud services from the control room, right? If you are in the public repository, on the right hand extreme top corner, you have an option to run. Um, and then when you click on that, you can select your API task and then run it on demand, right? We spoke about scheduling. We spoke about invoking API tasks as endpoints. Uh, we also spoke about invoking API tasks when events happen in external systems, right? Which is the web triggers, which is available starting 8.36 release. And finally, you can invoke API tasks from the Automation Anywhere conversational interface powered by Amazon Q. This feature is coming in 37 release. All right. Do you want to cover some of the integrations
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have?
So, integrations is obviously table stakes as you build your automation workflows, right? So, we have got a pretty strong integration strategy with our ecosystem. So you'll find that, for all the major enterprise applications that you would normally use in your organization, there is pre-built connectors that are already available in the platform, whether it's Salesforce or SAP, Workday or ServiceNow, your Office applications, your Google applications. They're already pre-built connectors to these. We also have pre-built connectors for large language models from whether it's AWS or Google or Microsoft or OpenAI. You'll find them there. What we have also done is build integrations to a number of iPaaS applications, right? Whether it's MuleSoft or Boomi or SnapLogic. If you got ways in which you want to take advantage of APIs created by those vendors within your organization, you'd be able to easily, call them directly from our automation or vice versa, right? If you want to call our automation cloud service from these applications, there is connectors available for those too. You'll be able to find these from the vendors' websites. Our bot store also has a lot of different pre-built integrations that you can consume. And then we're always looking to figure out how we can add more. So Vineet, you want to tell us about what the latest innovation there is that you've been working on?
Yeah, sure. Some of the latest stuff that we're working on is one of the things is connector builder. Um, connector builder for LLMs, right? Not just to build integrations with ERPs and CRMs, but for LLMs. Now, we know that agentic automation, agentic process automation is in vogue. Every company, every organization wants to implement AI agents because obviously we've realized the benefits, right? It expands the number of use cases you can automate, um, pre and post, AI agents. So connector builder is one such way to build rapid integrations with LLMs. Think of open source LLMs, think of closed source LLMs. Think of the latest ones that have been released just like a couple of days back, like Manus AI, or the one that came a few weeks ago, the DeepSeek. You can build integrations with these LLMs in a jiffy, in a couple of minutes, and test these before using them in your automations. We're going to show a quick demo of this as well in the later part of the session. But yeah, uh, connector builder for LLMs is definitely something that you should be using.
And one thing I should point out is that the really cool thing about that is that you're kind of at the driver's seat, right? So in the past, where you needed an integration to an application or a package for an application, you would, open a request with your customer service manager. You would get queued up, and we would kind of prioritize that based on all the workload that we have, in place for delivery for the release, right? Here, we kind of take away that friction, right? You don't have to wait for us. You can essentially use this tool to build your own custom connector very easily, very quickly. And as Vineet will show you in the demo, it's super easy to do this. Great. So Vineet, you want to tell us about runtime analytics? So you can essentially uh, take advantage of our ACC, right? Our Automation Command Center to see all the analytics for your API task, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. You're bang on. You can view the top 5 or top 10 API tasks that are mostly executed in your control room, and you can actually drill down into some insights, like how many of them are successful, how many of them are failed, how many of them were executed with specific user. For example, if multiple departments in your organization are consuming API tasks, say the HR department is consuming certain API tasks, and the finance department is consuming another set of API tasks, you can have great set of logs and analytics about those. These analytics will help you to understand what department is consuming what API tasks, and how can you optimize the number of cloud devices that you have. For example, the HR department might be using certain API tasks between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., right? And that is the time period when you want additional devices to be available for that department, right? So then you have an option in the control room to configure such auto scaling mechanism, right? And then maybe between 12 noon and 2 p.m. they don't use those many devices on the cloud. So you can set these, configure these numbers in the control room. Thereby you can achieve more with the limited number of automation devices that you have on cloud.
That's awesome. So let's go and take a look at how we can pull all this together and kind of tell a story about how you might be able to deploy this in your own organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to quickly, before we go to the next poll, I just want to show the demo scenario that we are going to do today. It will be an AI agent that monitors an inbox to extract text from emails and attachments. It analyzes content, categorizes the email, and then triggers actions. That's the technical outline. But in terms of functional business workflows, what we are doing is, imagine a company that receives emails from customers in various languages. These emails could be about billing issues, these emails could be about service issues or product issues, etc. Right? Now, in today's demo, we'll show you how customers are sending emails to an organization in Japanese, and how the organization has deployed AI agents to detect these emails, translate Japanese into English in order to understand what is the request from customer. And then based on the request, the AI agent will work with other AI agents to create a service request or to generate a document automation process to rectify the billing issue by looking at the invoice the customer has sent. And finally, the AI agent will also log the data in a system of record and send notifications back to the customer in their language of choice, which is Japanese in this case. Does this use case resonate with some of the organization? And maybe Lou, it's good time to show the next poll.
Yes.
Please go ahead and
So,
select one of these options.
yeah, so our next poll, based on what was just shared on a scale of 1 to 5, how much does this use case resonate with you? So 1 is it's interesting, but it would not be doing something like this. It resonated somewhat. I could see myself exploring this a bit. And then this was great and is a great idea for a use case. And then this resonated strongly with me. I'm going to give people another 30 seconds to respond. All right. So about 45% of people could see themselves exploring this a bit more. 30% said this was great and is a great idea for a use case. So yeah, I think we're in the perfect spot to dive into the demo.
Okay, so let's explore a bit more. All right, let me switch to my control room here. Let me get rid of the Zoom controls. So, all right. So I'm in the control room, and if Lou, if you can confirm you see my control room, all right?
Yep, we got it.
All right. For those of you who said you're new to API tasks or automation cloud service, I'll quickly show you how to get started with it, right? Once you're logged in as a developer, you go to create and then select an API task, my first one, and then you just click create, and then that brings you right, and that opens up the API task editor for you. On this editor, you'll see a lot of actions on the left. You'll see variables and triggers, obviously. Now, you'll notice that some actions like the Excel package are missing. But fret not, we have the equivalent, the cloud equivalent of the Excel package, which is Microsoft 365 Excel, which is on par with the Excel package that you have that runs on your bot runner machines typically, right? So it has all of the mostly used actions that you can use inside of your API task. So I saw a question around this, so I thought I'll cover that while doing this demo. Not just Excel, but you have a lot of other Microsoft suite of packages here. You have the Google suite of packages. You also have CRMs like Salesforce. You have ticketing apps like ServiceNow. You have document storage apps like SharePoint, Workday, Zendesk, and whatnot, right? Plus, you can use the connector builder to build rapid integrations with any app, and the connector that you build will automatically be available in your API task / automation cloud service. All right, so this is how you create an API task. Very simple. If you've ever created a bot, you can create an API task in minutes, right? Now, going back to our use case, so this is the use case that we are going to demo today, right? What we have done is we've configured a trigger here, a web trigger specific. Now, these web triggers listen to incoming emails on the cloud. They do not use your bot runner machines to listen to emails. Basically, what happens is they subscribe to the mailbox that you mentioned here that you've configured, and they look for a new email event. on this mailbox in this folder, right? And this is typical, right? You will select one of the connections that you've saved in the control room. This connection will be used to connect to that mailbox and subscribe to the interested event. And finally, you have a certificate that is used to decrypt the data that comes as part of the event, right? So this is how we set up a web trigger in an API task. And then when an email comes which matches your conditions, then the API task or the automation cloud service starts execution. First step, it translates the email, it identifies the intent, and then understands if it's a service issue or a billing issue, right? And in order to do that, it uses AI skill. Can I see a quick raise of hands? How many of you are familiar with AI skills and how many of you have used them? Say yes if you're familiar, say no if you're not familiar. Okay, I see a lot of no's there. So I think it's a good idea to go a little deep into AI skill and quickly show you how you can build one, right? So AI skill is the brain inside of your AI agent studio, right? It's the brain for your AI agents. Um, Let me quickly go over to this AI skill that I have here. And how do you create an AI skill? Very simple, right? You again go back here, create, and you select AI skill. You give it a name, and then you'll see this kind of an interface where you can first thing is you can select a model connection. Now, model connection is a standard LLM model. It could be OpenAI's model, it could be Claude, it could be Google, Gemini, etc. Right? Or it could be any of the open source models like Llama or Nemotron. Right? So you'll select the model based on your use case. So in today's use case where we want the AI agent to automatically translate the Japanese email text into English, understand the intent, and then also respond back to the customer in Japanese. So I've used GPT-4o Mini, which is quite good at translation, text-to-text translation. And I have given two prompts here. One is the system prompt, which is optional. What I'm saying here is you are a very good translator of the following languages into English. So I'm saying you can translate from Japanese to English, Korean to English, and also Chinese to English. And then the user prompt that I'm giving here is detect and translate the following email text and determine its primary intent, right? Based on the intent, classify the email as one of the following issues: service issue, billing issue, or others. And then provide your classification along with a brief explanation for your decision. And I'm also saying, configuring the output, right? I'm saying the output should be just one of these three classifications in bold letters without the word classification. And I'm also saying format your response like a real email, right? And I'm providing the email body as an input parameter because it is a variable, right? For every email, this keeps changing. And this is one such email that I've shown here. And I'll tell you, I'll quickly switch over to my notes here to show you. So a service issue could be something like this in Japanese. For those of you who understand Japanese, more power to you. But for those of you who don't, this is the English equivalent, right? So in this case, the customer has written to the support team saying there is a service disruption and they are unable to use the service or the features, right? Now, let's pass that same email here as an input and let's click on get response and see what the AI skill is able to do, right? The expectation is AI skill will understand the Japanese email, translate it to English, and also make sense of it. So here's the response from the AI skill. It says, this is the English equivalent, which is correct. I'm sorry, I think I've used the billing example here, which is why it says billing, right? But let me quickly change that to the service issue example. Copy and then go here and then delete, paste, update, and click on get response again. So the expectation is the AI skill will automatically determine it as a service issue. There you go. It has correctly determined it as a service issue. It also is providing the reason behind this decision, right? So this is how you can build AI skills, right? Um, I would encourage you to try building AI skills and then try using AI skills in some of your business scenarios.
And just on that note, Vineet, as well, with what you've shown there, the benefits of being able to use this all within the AI skills itself on a kind of a method of actually testing and integrating it within your existing workflows. You're able to test this to make sure you're getting the responses that you want every single time within this application here. So you're not having to execute your automations every time to do the testing. You can make that absolutely perfect and then integrate that into your existing workflows. And like Vineet did there, you got them two responses at the bottom. So before any of your developers start getting access to being able to use specific AI skills that you've created, you can have your automation leaders make sure they are perfect to be able to slot in and then make them reusable modules. End of the day, you then grow out your AI skill library. You can swap out model connections with ease, and then you have a full library of all these AI capabilities that you'll slot straight into your current functions.
Absolutely, Max. That's a great coverage of the AI Agent Studio. All right. Now, AI Agent Studio is part of our agentic platform. And those of you who do not have it yet, but are on enterprise platform license, there's an alternate for you. You can use the connector builder to build connectors for various LLMs. In this example today, I'm going to show you an open source connector, how you can quickly build an open source connector for NVIDIA Nematron, right? So all you have to do is go to Manage Packages, click Create Connector, and then say Product Club NVIDIA Nematron, and then click Create. Now, the best thing about Connector Builder is you can directly import Postman collections or open API specifications directly, right? So click on import and then select the Postman collection that you have already saved in your local machine. In this case, I have saved this NVIDIA AI API Postman collection, which is available as an open source resource. Click on import. It imports a bunch of models. I'm not interested in all of these models. I just want to use, let's see, the Nematron model, which is NVIDIA Nematron 4, which is right here. So I can get rid of various models if I don't need them. I'll just quickly delete the rest of them and just retain this one model for now, right? So if you look at this model, it makes an API call to the NVIDIA hosted model, and the endpoint is chat completions. The connector build has already imported most of the parameters that are required. For example, the messages is the parameter where you would send your prompt to the model, right? So it has automatically imported it. All you need to do is add an authentication mechanism based on your LLM provider. NVIDIA happens to support API key-based authentication, so I will quickly add an authorization header with the bearer prefix, because that's how you're supposed to send the API key. And then all you need to do is go to your Nematron model. You can actually rename it if you want. Just say Nematron. And then go to test and then fire your prompt here, right? For example, I will go back to my my thing here and I will just copy some of the Japanese text over here in the content section. And then I will add the bearer token with the API key here, bearer prefix with the API key, and click test. Says authentication failed. I think I'm using an incorrect API key, test again. And what you'll see here is it makes a call to the LLM, it gets a successful response, and it says the translation of the input text was, Dear billing department, I recently received the invoice and noticed a discrepancy, right? This is the translation. This is how you can quickly test your LLM connectors before publishing them. Because once you publish them, they will be available for use in your uh, automation cloud service editor as well as box, both, right? One such example I'll show you here is this NVIDIA Nematron that I created before our meeting today. You can notice that you can even add images to your connector actions, which is great. Now we are able to achieve the same thing, identify the intent, translate the email using both AI skill and the Nematron, right? So both ways are possible. Going further, and um, you'll categorize the email and move the email to one of the folders, and then based on the categorization, if it's a service, you will create a ticket in ServiceNow. And then if it is a billing issue, what we are doing is we are launching a document automation process and further extract the data from the invoice that the customer has attached, and then bring a human in the loop later to take a look at this discrepancy. Finally, we update the ticket status in a system of record. It could be Salesforce, it could be any custom system of records that exposes API. And finally, we also respond to the customer in the same language that they sent the email us in, right? Now, what I'll do is I will quickly switch over here to, so ideally what you'll do is if you want to use this in a production scenario, you will basically check in this API task, right? Get rid of that. You'll check in the API task, and then um, this is the API task here, right? Polyglot AI agent. And polyglot is somebody who speaks multiple languages. Our AI agents is able to understand multiple languages like Chinese, Japanese, Korean. That's why we named it polyglot. So you'll check it in like this, and then once it's available in the public repository, you will basically go head over to the manage event triggers, and then you'll create an event trigger for that API task here. You'll select, and then that's the API task that I checked in just now. And then go next, and then click add event triggers. So what happens in the background is it automatically creates a subscription for that selected mailbox, and then it will keep listening to incoming emails, right? For the purpose of this demo, what I'll do is I will quickly open the same in the editor here, and I will select this option called run with triggers. What this will do is it will basically subscribe to the mailbox, and then it will start listening to new incoming emails. Right there, it says listening for triggers, meaning it is actively listening for new emails. It is listening in the cloud, not on the bot runner machine. So let's go ahead and send out some emails, right? So this is, let me send the email to the mailbox that I've configured, which is this one. And the moment I send it, in this case, I'll receive it in the same mailbox. You'll see that how this automation gets triggered automatically as soon as I see a new email arriving in the inbox. Forward dev.test and send. Yeah, a new email arrived here. And pretty soon you should start seeing that this automation gets deployed and it starts executing. All right, looks like it's not triggering right now. The demo gods are not with me right now, but It will trigger based on the event matching. And you'll also see that it will basically, if I just say debug here and then confirm, and if I'm just mocking that the email that was delivered to the inbox in the editor right now. And what happens is it will use the AI skill to determine the intent, translate the email, and then finally it will, since the email that we gave is it's a service request, that means it should go ahead and create um, a ticket in ServiceNow in step 3 of this automation. So once it crosses step 3, I will quickly switch over to ServiceNow and show you that, yeah, there you go. It's creating the incident right now. It's done. So if I switch over to ServiceNow and refresh my page here, you should see a new ticket that was created just now. Yeah, looks like I have a little latency, but yeah, there you go. This ticket was created just now. Look how smartly the automation understood the intent and then correspondingly created a ServiceNow ticket and not a billing request, right? Like correct the billing discrepancy by submitting a document automation workflow. So that is how you can use a combination of web triggers, automation cloud service, AI agents, and then connect a builder to string together end-to-end automations that cater to newer and more powerful use cases.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to emphasize, I think Vineet kind of pointed this out, is that with web triggers, the actual listening part is actually happening in our cloud, right? So in previous implementations of, desktop triggers and so on that you have with email, you would actually have to allocate a bot runner to do that listening, right? So you have to make sure that device or that resource is always available for this part. Now we're taking that out completely off the runner and it's now running in the cloud, right? So that's another benefit to kind of think about and how you can optimize your infrastructure to gain more efficiency.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. I think that was the demo for today, Lou. I apologize. I think I ran over time, but give it back to you now.
Oh, no, that's perfect. I love seeing how all of the different features work together. So this really helped to connect some dots. And thank you so much for giving us a brief glimpse of some of the other stuff that people weren't very familiar with as well. That was really, really helpful. Um, I love this use case, but to put you on the spot, can you guys name 3 to 5 other use cases that this would be good for?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, what I'd say is that, any kind of automation that's taking advantage of applications that are SaaS or cloud, right? You would definitely want to go this route because you can now better leverage your infrastructure and drive efficiency. The other thing I would say is that any time where you have a need for automations where the response time is critical, right? You want to hear or you want to get feedback from the automation within the context of a minute, right? So because these things run in the milliseconds time frame, right, you would get really, really fast response. Otherwise, you kind of, your attended user, if you will, is going to be sitting in front of the computer waiting for the bot to come back to you, right? You don't want that experience. So those are some of the generic sort of recommendations I'd make. And as you kind of build more agentic process workflows where you're taking advantage of LLMs that are essentially cloud native, this is a huge step in that direction as well. Vineet, you want to add something?
Yeah, absolutely. As is one thing I'd like to add is imagine a scenario where at the end of a month or the end of a quarter, you want to process more bank statements or more spreadsheets or more workload.
Brilliant. Yeah.
You cannot provision hardware in minutes, but you can provision additional cloud runners in seconds. So you should definitely use API tasks for such use
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah. The cloud scalability, elasticity is really germane to this. So you'll be able to take full advantage of that. Mhm.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm going to launch one last poll. Would you like to have a one-on-one conversation to learn how Automation Cloud Service can benefit your organization? Go ahead and throw those answers in there. I'm not going to show the responses. We will just pull the information and reach out if you selected yes. And then I know we don't have too much time for Q&A. If you do have a question, we can stay on for about 5 more minutes and ask some of those. If we run out of time and you have an additional question or you think of something later, please feel free to reach out to community@automationanywhere.com and we will get those questions to the right people and make sure you get your response. We'll also be posting the recap of the session on the community, so that's also a good place to ask questions and keep this conversation going with Aziz and Fanit.
This is awesome. Yeah, I mean, we are always here to help. So if you need any, follow-ups, we're happy to help and your organization.
And Aziz, Fanit, it does look like we have some questions on the in the Q&A that are still open. So we can take 5 more minutes to answer some of those.
Sure.
Um, I can take one of them. There's a question about API tasks supports only REST or others. So API tasks can support any kind of API framework, REST, SOAP, a graph, as long as you can consume a web service in through the REST command or through the SOAP command or through some kind of a wrapper wrapped in a connector, you can invoke all such API endpoints. There's one from Joel Wergler about on-prem availability for webhooks or web triggers. Aziz, you want to take that?
Yeah. So we are looking at making it a little more flexible so that customers who are on-prem are going to be able to take advantage of some of these new features. So the strategy there is essentially to offer this capability in a private cloud environment, right? And I think for most of our customers, their on-premise infrastructure is really on a private cloud, if you will, right? So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to me, and then we are going to be running a preview for that capability sometime in the spring. Which we're already almost in spring. I'm in California, so in the April-May timeframe. So we'll get you involved in that, and then so you can learn more about how you can take advantage of that. Any others? For some reason, my Q&A is frozen. Vineet, you want to read them out, and we can perhaps answer them.
Yeah, sure. There's another from Theo Bor. It says, we needed an unattended license to listen to triggers in the past, but using the cloud API is a real win scenario, but we are not yet to this stage with AI, which brings the best to the scenario we presented. Just to clarify, it's a long question. Just to clarify with someone else who asked in the chat, can we use normal sub-bot automation with the tools that comes with it within cloud API task? And also, when you say the cloud API is listening to email coming in, there's no additional conditions like it's listening 24 hours or to any incoming email running in the cloud. Yeah. So there's two questions. I can take the second one first, which is, how does the listening happen? Like, is it listening 24 hours? Yes, it listens to 24 hours, but it doesn't consume any resources while it's doing the listening. Because we use webhooks and not polling, because polling is making an external call from Automation Anywhere to your provider application and checking with it, hey, is there a new event? That's polling. But we use webhook, which involves subscription. Every time the event happens, we automatically get notified. And using this notification, we apply certain filters on it, certain conditions, both on the server side, which is the provider, and on the client side, which is Automation Anywhere. Using a combination of these conditions or filters, we can selectively deploy automations. And the previous part of the question was, can we use normal sub-bot automation with the tools that comes with it within? Not quite sure what it means, but when you say sub-bot automation, Do you mean certain packages that are available in bots and not in API tasks? I'll give you time to update that question, but yeah. Um,
Or you can
there's
email us and we can
sure.
respond to that.
Yeah. There's another from Stefan Kogler. Is it possible to have a small installation with this, just one control room and automation cloud service? And what is the license or cost?
Yeah, so API task or automation cloud service can be purchased in two ways, right? One is you purchase the enterprise platform, right? License, which gives you that as a bundle included in it. You also get AI Studio and so on, connector builder, all these great stuff. And a lot of the features that Vineet demonstrated today with being able to call API task from as an endpoint and so on, right? And then you also have the ability to sort of buy this a la carte, right? So if you're interested in simply just using API task, as a means of driving your automations, you can also buy the overage SKU, which is really intended for customers to sort of buy more executions, if you will, on top of the enterprise, but you can buy that separately as well. I hope that answers.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's all we have time for. So we will, if you did not get your question answered, feel free to email it over to community@automationanywhere.com and I will get it to Aziz or Vineet to get that answer for you. And just a reminder, we will be posting a recap of this on the community. And that's all for now. Thanks, Aziz, Vineet, and Max for joining. Thanks to all of our attendees for being here, and we will see you next month.
Awesome. This was fun. We look forward to coming back again.
Thank you,
Yes,
everyone.
we'll definitely be invited.
All right. Take
All
care,
right,
guys.
Just
bye
quickly before
everyone.
everybody leaves, remember to sign up for the Agentic Process Automation Training Camp, and we will see you all there as well.
Thank you, everyone.